what's the thing that's connecting all of us? And it's like, to be human. So it's like, what does it mean to be human to you?
To me, it's the collective consciousness.
Hey.
I think we're all connected. I think the internet in real life is all of our brains. Like, and we don't. I don't think like to be human means like the religions we believe in, the ideologies, all that stuff that's all just concepts that men and women came up with. But to be human is just the way our minds are connected. And eventually, I think to be an elevated human, to get to like that point where we can build a Dyson thing around a star and like just like really explore, is to like explore the consciousness and not our like shit that we're fighting for on the surface, but the deeper side, the deeper connection that makes us all related, like
open-mindedness of everything.
Yeah. The traveling through space and time through like your third eye and the pineal gland and all that shit. Like, I know it sounds like all spacey daisy and all that shit, but like, what else is there?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yo, what's up? This is Boho Hobo, and we welcome you all back to Bindlism, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. The purpose of Bindlism is to unlock authentic perspective as we create a community of like-minded individuals who are living a self-sufficient lifestyle. A self-sufficient lifestyle is one in which a human being is activating their self-awareness to curate an authentic life that keeps them sustained mentally, emotionally, and physically in their adventure towards self-fulfillment. Boho Hobo's mission is to support a community that fosters this culture. We will be interviewing a diverse group of people, including artists, creatives, entrepreneurs, and independent thinkers to make this happen. Please join us in this journey as we explore the world and broaden our horizons with discoveries of new perspective. Thank you to everyone who is taking the time to stop by on your journey to give us a listen. We hope you enjoy, and as always, explore endlessly.
All right, we're back. Episode 52 with our boy Picasso. Have him introduce himself in a second. I don't know why I always say that. You can just introduce yourself now. Just go ahead. Like as if I had something else to say. I don't.
Cliffhanger.
Just kidding.
My name is Picasso Dular, and that's me.
So what do you do?
I am an artist, musician, used to be a dancer, and just all around creative person, I think.
So Picasso lives here at the Gear Factory with us. It's been,
I love it.
You know, what's the word I'm looking for? We've been kind of teamed up during quarantine here, trying to surviving. But yeah, so you're, I guess you're most well known for your tattoo artistry, I would say. Yeah. How did you get into like tattooing?
When I lived in Chicago, I went through like different lives, and tattooing I stumbled into it. I started off, a dancer, and then I started teaching dance. Then I left Hawaii, moved to Chicago, and I started like taking like professional like ballet and all that other shit.
Damn.
And then I was always an artist. I always drew my whole life. That was just something I did.
Like even from like super
young? Like when I was from 2 and on. So drawing to me was more of a personal thing. I just like to draw. And I figured I'd be more of a comic book artist or animator. It was kind of like, if I was going to do something with art back then, that's what I wanted to do with it. But anyway, so as I was going through this dance period of my life, well, I was like most from childhood until like my 20s, I just was having a trouble finding work, and just holding down jobs, And someone was like, hey, you draw, so why don't you tattoo? And then I was like, nah. And then I started getting into music again. And then I kind of transitioned from dancing to music, and I wanted to do that. And then again, same problems. Like I just waiting tables and bullshit like that was like not my jam. And then someone brought it up again, and I was like, it's not really my thing. Like I'm not really into the tattoo culture, you know.
Did you have any tattoos at that point?
No, I didn't. I didn't have a tattoo. My first tattoo was done by a homemade machine in someone's bedroom. Damn. And it hurt like a fucking son of a bitch.
How old were you?
I was like 18.
Okay.
18.
Late in the game.
Yeah, totally. So I didn't really get into tattooing until like 21, 22.
Yeah. Okay.
And it happened because I was walking past this like Flatiron building in Chicago, and I walked in and there was a tattoo shop in there, but it was only one guy in a small studio just by himself. So that was really cool because it wasn't like intimidating. You know, it wasn't like a whole shop with a whole bunch of people. And I asked him if he would teach me. He was like, "Oh."
You just waltzed in?
Yeah, I walked in. I was like, "Hey," I was curious. I asked him some questions. And he was like, "Just come back and watch me. Just come back and watch. And if you can sit down and watch an entire tattoo, then we'll see." So that's what I did. I came, sat there, I watched. Then he was like, "Okay, I'm going to teach you how to make needles." And then it was like
make needles.
Yeah, back then we had to make your own needles.
How?
You bought the needle tips, whichever kind you want. There's like some that are more tapered, some that have like a just different points, you know. Like the more tapered ones are like for like softer blending, and then the ones that have less taper are like good punching in color, or dark blacks and shit like that. So we used to make them. You know, you put your grouping together, you solder it, put it on the bar, you sit on the thing, the jig, and you blah blah blah.
Jeez.
You do that. So I had to do that, and that was kind of like a wax on, wax off kind of like situation. And then I just watched, just sat there and watched for hours, and then eventually someone let me tattoo them, and the rest is history from there. You know, tattooing is great, but it's not like my dream. You know what I mean? Like my dream is to do like entertainment, art, and I would love to be a part of like maybe character design for video games or a movie or just getting back into my band and like performing. That's my favorite shit, is being on stage.
Yeah, I feel like just like you have a lot of different avenues of like your art. Right. You're definitely not like a one lane kind of dude.
No, and that's because most of my childhood I spent alone. And when you're alone, you figure out how to do shit. You know what I mean? Like you're just like, okay, I want to learn how to do this, and and I'm kind of like obsessive and competitive. So if I want to learn something, I like try to learn it to a degree where, like even right now, like my hobby is competitive fighting games, and I've been
like Tekken.
No, Street Fighter.
Oh,
Street
okay.
Fighter. Well, I do play Tekken. I have competed in Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter were the main three for the last 3 years I've been competing in. But Street Fighter is like my number one. I've been playing games my whole life, and that's always been like something I've been fascinated with. But right now, I'm like, especially with COVID, you know, I'm just like fucking studying that shit. You know, the frames. I have a coach right now, and she sits down and like. We get together online, and she coaches me through shit.
Is she like a pro?
Yeah, she is definitely a pro. She watches my replays. We go over like the frame data. We go over like combos and shit like that, and then we play. And then she gives me like homework and shit like that. So and I've been to a few like Evo and Combo Breaker and all those like big tournaments. And that shit is like so fun because.
Makes you want to be like on there, you know?
And then the art, say like in the art world, like when I go to tattoo events or art and music, like a lot of people know me, but in the gaming world, I'm nobody. And it's so refreshing to go into something where no one knows you and you ain't shit, and you have to like work your way up.
Prove yourself.
Yeah. And I like that challenge, and that's been like my new break away from all the art and music and stuff. And it's nice because my ego is like low, you know, I just have to focus on getting better. And, you know, and I'm also like, when I go to these tournaments, there's something fascinating about how mixed and diverse the crowds are. I mean, to me, I always described it as like if in a sci-fi where there's like a space station where it's neutral and all the different aliens can come, but there's no war there. You know, it's like a little one-stop kind of like area. And that's how it feels. You know, you got all these different groups of people, but we're all there for video games. And everyone loves fighting games, and that's all we care about. Like, dudes will be set up in the bathrooms doing tournaments. If there's no room, they'll be in the bathroom, like running fucking the brackets and shit. And it's so fun.
True
it's so
dedication.
passionate. Yeah. From ages, from little to big. Not little to big. Like, you know, like young and like dudes like my age. I mean, they call us the boomers of the video games. Because, I mean, I remember the video games since Atari, so I'm definitely a boomer. You know, I was excited when you could play Pac-Man at home. I was like, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So,
How old are you right now?
I'm 44.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're like either the very butt end of that or like the next, like I guess early into the next gen, whatever that is. I don't know what the next gen is from that, but yeah,
It's fun. It's fun.
So you've seen like that's actually really sick that you've been able to see like the true progression of what video games have started at to where they're at now.
Dude, like, because I grew up in the arcades too. Like I was a runaway, and I used to like skip school. And the one place I would go, if I wasn't like out when I was younger, I used to go out and battle kids at their schools dancing. I'd skip school, go to their school, and then battle them on their turf. That shit was awesome. My life in the early years was kind of like one of those dance movies.
Okay.
I swear to God.
Come in, snapping your finger.
You know, like we challenge each other. And then there was a point where I lived that life of like where the street dancer meets the girl who does ballet, who's from the burbs, and then she, you know, she's all like, you know, doing the thing, and then all of a sudden the dance teacher's like, "Hey, you got talent." And next thing you know, I'm dancing ballet, and I'm like from the wrong side of the tracks, kind of life. Yeah, that shit was hilarious. And then when I started seeing all those movies, I'm always like, "Oh, I totally
that was my life."
I swear to God, it was hilarious.
So what, like, I know you were like, you know, you would like practice dancing, but outside of like street battles, like were you professionally dancing for like shows or stuff?
Yeah. After like, once I kind of got off the street with it in clubs, when I started actually taking real dance lessons and shit, that's when I started doing, I got hooked up with Ben Vereen. Have you ever heard of him? He's like huge in the theater world. Okay. He's definitely well known and respected. He's old school. But Ben Vereen had this troupe called Good Vibes, and they were we did like theater prevention. We basically went to schools and was like, I want to talk about drugs. I want to talk about sex, like, you know, like physical abuse, and we would talk to kids about these issues. But we performed. Okay. And I did that for like 5 years. We traveled all around Illinois to schools and did those performances. And they were pretty heavy too, because you'd get kids come up to you afterwards that were like crying because a scene touched them, and they're like, yo. And so we had to sit down with like therapists and psychologists and have them coach us on what to say. Because if you say the wrong thing and they go kill themselves, that's you know what I mean?
You probably were the reason that happened. Yeah. You know?
So I did that for a while. And that was fun. But we kind of grew out of it because we were like kind of preaching. We weren't preaching, but we were kind of like saying, you know, there's ways to deal with these things. You know, we're not anti-drugs, but I mean, we're not saying, hey, go out and do heroin, but we're like, hey, this is how you deal with shit. And we did it with singing, dancing, all this performing, and scenes and acting. And that was really cool. But some of us in the group were kids when it started, and I watched them grow up into like young adults, and then they were kind of like, I don't know if I can say this stuff anymore. You know, I want to go live my life now. I want to, you know, make some mistakes and like do my thing. Okay. And, you know, you got to let people live. And then I kind of started veering off into music and rock and roll and drugs and just heavy shit. And then I knew I couldn't sit there and tell some kid.
Right.
Not,
if you're,
you know what I
doing
mean?
your own
So
thing,
I was like,
yeah.
all right, I think it's time. And it was 5 years, and the head of the bin brain eventually left, and like people started changing, and some of the people that were running it were changing. Like people started moving around, and it kind of lost its like luster when I first got with it. But that was cool. That was like the first thing I did with like dancing and acting and shit like professionally. I mean, I don't know. It was a strange time in my life.
So, so you like the more like, I guess, the entertainment side of the art.
Yeah.
So I guess like this kind of is a great caveat to talk about Inkmasters, just because I feel like that makes a lot more sense as to why, like, what it would intrigue you to want to be a part of that.
Well, I mean, I'm honestly that I just knew that was going to be great promotion for my work. I mean, hands down, the amount of promotion that they're giving you is the kind of promotion you can't pay for yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
So I knew it would help
too.
my business, because the way I look at it is tattooing is my business that helps me eat, but the entertainment and arts is what kind of sustains my emotional needs and like makes me feel like I accomplished, because something, you know, makes me feel like I accomplished something, because it takes a lot of work to write a good song or to like choreograph something or to entertain people and have them be like, yes, that shit was awesome, instead of them being like, yeah, all right, you know. So that takes a lot of work. But tattooing is like, that's like my science based life, you know, like that's where I have to put on my, you know, my thinking cap, and I have to like make sure my shit is like precise and everything's like in order, and that's how I make money to eat. So that's one thing, you know. I don't.
It's kind of like it's like your day job, and then everything else is like what you actually your actual passion.
I mean, I do.
Well, you're not that you're not passionate about it.
Right. I love tattooing. I love doing. But after 20 years, I've narrowed it down to where I only want to tattoo what I can shine at. You know, I'm not gonna sit there and just do like names or like just like little bangers.
You're not gonna let people come in and just do stupid shit.
Yeah. I mean, good on them if that's what they want. They can. There's many artists out here that are struggling that can do it. You know, but I want to be more of a specialist. That way, I can kind of like give people my best and do my best work in that area, and also not fuck around and like waste my time, and then frees up my time to do the other things I love. You know what I mean?
Right. Because like if you wanted to, you could easily just fill your entire schedule with just bullshit.
But I got it down to where I work twice a week. That's it. Only do like, you know, people when they book, there's a screening, like what are you getting? You know, does this even fit in kind of like the styles that I want to do? I can do many styles, and I don't have it narrowed down to one, but there is like a certain, you know, I'll do like new school stuff, I'll do illustrative stuff, I'll do portraits and realism, I'll do stuff that's abstract, but anything like plain and like, I find it harder for me to do small, simpler tattoos than doing something huge and complex. Because when you have to do something small and simple, I'm like, how do I dumb this down? You know, like in my head, I'd be like, oh, I could turn this into this. Like,
and then next
they're like, yeah, that's not what I want. I'm like, but it would be cool. You know, half the time I feel like I'm tattooing for me, you know.
Yeah.
Which is, it's good, but it's not great, you know. I try to meet in the middle with my clients now, where if I can make them happy and myself, then it'll be a good tattoo.
Because I mean, it's not fun for you, like if you're just tattooing and it's just boring to you,
right?
You know?
Because you find yourself cutting corners or like just kind of getting through it, kind of just dialing it in, and it doesn't always make for the best thing for someone that wants to wear something on their skin for life. You know what I mean?
Right. Plus, like, if you see that person out in public again, and be like, see that, and be like, oh shit, I forgot about that.
But I'm brutally honest with clients too. I'll tell them if I don't like the tattoo. I'll be like, not my favorite, but we'll get through it. I'll make it nice. But I don't like even recently, this guy wanted something super cool. He wanted the Bat Who Laughs, you know, where the Batman turned into the Joker, that whole DC storyline. But like areas like this, when you're tattooing and you want to put a full body character, this shit's cool, but guess what? Now the head is only like that big, and the hands are only like that
you gotta
big.
fit it on
Right, and then the majority of the tattoo is like the body, and all the details are shrunk, and that just it really kills the vibe. I would have rather done his head, so we can really get into like the details,
get closer,
teeth,
like a closer,
and maybe the hand and holding the gun or whatever. But you want to kind of like, I have to stop taking those. You know, like if you want a full body character, then you got to give me like a back or your entire leg. You know what I mean? Because that way you can like at least still get the head like that. Because in 5-10 years, all those details they just shrink.
Right.
Everything kind of like the ink kind of slowly spreads a little bit, and things get wider, and then all this detail just shrinks, and then it's just gonna look shitty.
Yeah.
And I want to I want people's tattoos to look good for years, like till they're old. So you got to think about that. And that was the one thing my teacher taught me. He was really good with that. He was like, you want to not just tattoo for the moment, and this is before Instagram and the internet, so we didn't have that yet. So a lot of people, I feel like they tattoo for that image, for that picture, and then
it looks
does
like
it feel good? Sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't. Sometimes it does. But there's a majority. There is a group of tattooers that tattoo for that one image, and then that's it. That's that.
Are you open to disclosing like the techniques that you would do to
Sure,
make
sure,
it last?
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah. It's just basically like the bigger the better. Anytime you can go bigger, even in a small space, like let's say if you have a space this big, then fill that space. Like bring whatever image up to that space. Don't take the space and then do something small and then give it a bunch of background and shit. Now it's still a small tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to make things bigger, but
because they'll shrink over time. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Okay.
There's ways to do it. The bigger is always better.
So it's more so
the
like
less you have shit like kind of crammed together, then the easier it is for it to last longer, and easier to touch up too.
It's more so about like the area covered rather than like the needle used or the ink.
What I've learned is it's mostly about the flow of the body. If you look at the anatomy of the muscles and like the way things move, you want to kind of like design tattoos to fit the body and the muscles in a certain way. Like the tricep kind of
so
moves
it
like
flows
this.
with
yeah, everything. Mm. So if I was just to do something here, it will kind of go like this and then maybe move this way, just like this.
It's like feng shui of the body.
Yes, exactly.
It's wild.
And I feel like when you follow that, which it's not something that came up with what's his name? Guy Atchison was the guy who kind of like created the Bible for that, for the flow of the body, and he has a great book on it. Forget the name of the book. I'm sorry. It's like rediscovering. Is it? Either way, Guy Atchison. You can look him up. His shit is dope, and he was like the one who was one of the few artists that started New School, and then experimenting outside of your typical tattoo, your eagles and your fucking he started doing things that moved and did like flow, and then created this whole big book on how to do that shit, and it's always like stuck with me, and I've kind of always used that as kind of my principle for when I design a tattoo on the body. You want to when I put a stencil on someone, I make them stand there, and then I make them like, I go, okay, act like you're standing in line and you're about to buy tickets and reach for it, or act like you're just waiting for the bus. How it looks when you're just being natural and when you're moving.
Right.
Because if you're just standing there and you do something and it looks weird, then maybe you need to move it a little bit so it kind of like moves with them,
Yeah.
And then
you want to set them up to have the best experience with that tattoo.
Yeah. And it just keeps this cool flow, and it makes them flow, and then they feel good, and then they're like, oh shit, and it looks good in their outfits, and they put shit on, and they're like, oh shit, it works with this outfit, what?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's sick. So are you like a big proponent of like, for example, say your arms, like having the pictures kind of like top to bottom?
No.
Or does that not matter as much?
It doesn't matter. What does matter is if you tattoo next to another tattoo, you fill in the space.
Yeah, don't leave it.
Like, yeah, fill in those like, just complete the area. Because, you know, I mean, I'm a victim of it. I have a lot of just like, tattoos because I started late, but also early, you know, back in the 90s. And I don't know. I was just hungry for just, oh, that'd be cool. Put it on me. Hey, I drew this. Put this on me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'd rather people think about the area that they want to cover and how does it flow. And why don't we just eat up that whole area and then you don't have to get a bunch of little ass pieces unless it's what you want. There's nothing wrong with that. That's totally a style and preference.
Mm-hmm.
But I prefer to do like just bigger, just take up that space, just eat it up, and then you can move on to a new body part. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, just to get a better understanding of your process
Mm-hmm.
with like the design and actually doing a tattoo,
Mm-hmm.
I'll use me for example. Like I'm interested in getting an arm sleeve,
Okay.
and like I have a bunch of different ideas
Mm-hmm.
to incorporate all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I have like images I found on the computer.
Right.
So if I come to you and I give you all those ideas, like what would you do with that?
I will. All right. So when people give me references, I usually tell them don't send me pictures of other people's tattoos because when you have too many references that are other people's work from other artists, you tend to like start pulling those things in, and then next thing you know, you just
Kills the flow.
well, no, you end up stealing from other artists.
Oh,
yeah.
You know, like you start taking their
It needs
ideas.
to be an original piece.
Right. So I say, like, if someone, like, let's say you wanted a wolf with, like,
That's what I want actually.
whoa.
Perfect.
Good thing I'm
Third eye.
Yeah, right? So let's say you wanted a wolf and you wanted filigree and this certain kind of flower. Let's say those three things. So I would say, give me a real picture of a wolf, find like metalwork and like really cool stuff that were filigree. Like don't take it from another artist. Just give me stuff to inspire me.
Pictures of them.
Yeah, inspire me to create and let me do that homework. Because if I don't feel like I created it and came up with something, or if I just used a bunch of different tattoos as my reference, I'm just gonna be like, okay, that part's cool. I'll just do that. Okay, yeah, fuck it.
And it's not yours.
Yeah, then it's not really
that
mine.
attachment.
You know? I'm not saying I've never done that because there's been moments where I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. So I had to like maybe look at some other artists and go, oh, okay, that's how they did that. Well, you know what? I'm gonna do similar, but I'm gonna try to, like, if they did it from this perspective, at least I'll change the perspective or something. You know, but I'll try that idea. But I prefer to do it off of raw ideas.
Mm.
And then I take a picture of the yarn, and then I have two ways of doing my tattoos: pre-draw, where I sit down and think about it and draw it out, or freehand, and I'll look at my references and then look at the arm and just draw on it with markers. And sometimes that works out better. It depends on what mood I'm in, because sometimes I'll just be like, fuck it, let's just do this. And I'll just grab the markers. And then it really sticks to the body better because I'm drawing it right to the form. But sometimes you do magic on paper and you're like, oh, I got to do it just like this. So then you make your stencil. But then again, you put those stencils on, sometimes they don't sit exactly how you want sometimes, you know? So I don't know. Sometimes they do. You know, it depends on how you prepare for it. But I like both. I like to freehand because then sometimes it just fits so nicely. It just you really flow with the muscles because you're drawing right on it. You're just like, oh. But
So you would draw like on the person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is that like
Markers.
a session where they just sit?
No, they do it. They come in
Prior
usually,
to the tattoo, you're saying?
I usually start work early in the morning anyway. So when they get there, we'll spend like an hour or two just drawing. You know, and then we spend like the rest of the time kind of like outlining and doing like gray lines, you know.
Because you don't do you're not going to do the tattoo in that like sitting.
If it's colored, hell no. Black and gray, maybe, because black and gray moves so much faster. It's only black,
Yeah.
pretty much. Black and water.
So do you at least get like the outlines done?
Yes,
and
yeah,
then
I definitely do. Like I put my roadmap on there, and then set it up so next time all we have to do is start filling in and shading and doing whatnot.
Can we meet up sometime?
Yeah.
Wrap it out.
Kyle was just like, I just want a tattoo.
Can I give you the idea? Right now?
Yeah, what, I'm curious.
So like I want to have the cancer crab in my hand, and then it'd be like waves, and then it'll build from that into like this like landscape, kind of like out in the wild with like mountains, and then the wolf will come in with like maybe a moon coming up to here. So like with each level, it's like getting higher.
I would stop at the moon.
The atmosphere.
Yeah, because that.
And then I wanted to like.
I already see it.
Build into
I've already designed the whole thing.
Build into like a spirituality thing where it's like maybe like the Buddha or like astrology into like I'm big into like future tech too. So like I found this picture where it's like this robot hand and a human hand touching. So like do something like that, but like it's getting more into like the spirituality and like singularity of things.
I try to limit things down to maybe 3 to 4 ideas.
I was like, and do this,
because then it's just I saw it all the way up to the moon, and then everything beyond that, I would say should go across your back.
It's probably too big at that point.
Yeah, because I already saw the crab and I saw the water, and then I could see like turning into rocks and then like mountains and trees and shit, and then maybe a portrait of a wolf, maybe taking up most of the upper arm
into the moon up
and
at the top.
And then do a really nice sky with a really bright moon, and then maybe on the back you do like the hands and the robot hand and all that shit.
That'd be dope.
That could be an extension to the arm piece, but I would go crab, landscape, wolf, moon, boom. And because anything else,
like
anything else, let's do it.
You got a finite amount of like space. You wanna give it space for the detail.
The crab is that's gonna be dope. Because there's so much like almost like little bumps.
I want like
textures. You know, I love textures.
Like it's like tribal though. It not the like not realistic.
See, I saw it.
More so.
I saw it realistic and black and gray.
Yeah, definitely all black. All black and gray.
I don't do tribal.
No. Well, maybe not tribal, but it's like, have you ever seen the astrological symbols? Where it's...
I would do it realistic.
A real?
Yeah, because then it's a great conversation starter.
They're like, why a crab?
Yeah. And then you're like, well... Boom.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Especially if it like resembles the symbol, but in a realistic way.
Because you have all these like really cool elements. You can't really translate
tribal with realism.
Yeah. Well, with the water and then landscape and the wolf, all that stuff could be so beautiful if it's done. You have so many beautiful textures in that. You know, like the crab, and then underneath. Like behind the crab is like stones and water, and then behind that there's like then you start getting in the landscapes and trees and shit, and then you have the fur and the wolf and like just the eyes and all these cool details in it.
I love it.
You know,
it's so beautiful.
Black out the behind the moon and add stars and shit. You make that moon pop. Oh man, it can be really cool, really really cool. That'd be a great realistic piece. But that's just the way I saw it.
So. Just out of curiosity, thinking about the size and potential materials that go into that, what would a tattoo like that run? Like just like on average?
Well, it depends. If you want to book me for the day, that's between 6 to 8 hours of work.
So you go on an hourly rate?
No, a day rate is between 11 and 1,500. And then that way we don't work by the hour. We work as long as we need to.
Got it.
And then we can take as many breaks. We can eat, shoot the shit, smoke weed if you smoke weed or whatever. Just kind of get in the zone and not rush. If it's not going to take a full day, then you can do by the hour. Between 150 to 200 an hour, basically. And I try to do at least minimum of 3 hours a day. But I have friends I hook up and I do like. But it's nice now because I have a private studio to myself, so it's not like I have to give a cut to anybody. So if I'm making less than I would normally make in a day, it's still all mine. It's okay,
right?
Like to work for a few hours and make what someone would make in a week at like a fucking fast food place. I can't complain.
Right.
I can't complain at all. You know what I mean? If someone's like, yo, this is all I got, I'm usually like, all right, let's do it. Let's make it work. And if they're like, then usually people like that, they're like, well, does that mean you're going to make the tattoo smaller? I'm like, no, it might make it bigger. Like, we're still going to give you a nice tattoo. Like, if you can't afford, we can work with what you got. You know, I guess.
So what, say like, to make it pristine, perfect in your eye, it would cost you $1,000. But say the person can only give you like 700.
Yeah,
like,
we can work it out.
I guess what would your first thing be to like reduce like what you're putting into it to like make up for the
nothing. I don't change anything.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
The tattoo I still put in the same amount of effort, same amount of detail. I don't hold back. It's just what it is, you know. I'm willing.
It's kind of, I guess it's like it'll even out somewhere else.
Yeah,
someone else.
The universe will work itself out.
Honestly,
you know what I mean? I'm not gonna be super greedy and be like, no, I can't do it. Sorry. It's like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it.
So this is the second time you're bringing up like universal, like spiritual, like third eye. Are you Buddhist? Like what's your spiritual in general?
I'm very open-minded to every kind of teaching or philosophy or ideas, because in my mind, I feel like if one thing was true, everyone would be doing it. But
good point.
There's so many different views, and since we're so divided, sometimes that division isn't. In order to like create, like to break down those barriers between two different ideas and theories, is just listen to everybody's ideas. And maybe, honestly, from all my years of experience, and everyone's saying the same thing but in different ways. But everyone's fighting over
this. Yeah,
you're like, what are you fighting for? Like,
people like to fight.
You know, like
it is very interesting because it's like. Take religion, for example. Just like they're all based in the same like idea of just being like a good person, right. And then it's like they're arguing over like who the head honcho is of their religion. It's like, who fucking cares? Right. Just be a good person.
or you're not this religion, so you're not.
Right, you're a lot lesser kind of thing.
But then you're like, okay, let me take your teaching and your teaching. Y'all saying the same fucking shit. So what do you like? Yeah. Why do we have so many divisions? Why do we have so much?
It's like a puzzle piece where there's like all different types and they all kind of piece together to make a whole. Right. But like you wouldn't see that unless you're like thinking open-minded to all of it.
I tend to look at things like I like to imagine if an extraterrestrial was observing us, what would they think? You know, I probably couldn't fathom what they think, but I have a rough idea in my head. I imagine, like, what would they think if they saw all this, like, fighting over, like, skin color or, like, regions. Like, you live over here and you live over here. It's like, they'd look, they're like, wait a minute.
It's like the
only thing separating your two continents is a body of water. It's still on one piece of land. What do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there is no divisions. Like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, you guys are fighting over different, skin colors? Like, you know, if I skinned you both be just muscles and meat. You know what I mean? Like, we are not really, I always thought of these bodies of ours as the vehicles, but the real person here is our brains.
We're walking brains.
We're walking brains. Exactly.
Vessels.
That's it. That's it. This is my car. Like, sometimes I just don't get it. I'm like,
no, I agree with you. Like,
I love people. I love everyone. I love different, you know, I've had friends that said some really dumb, ignorant ass shit, but you still love them, you know, like, you know, you can't, it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I've always thought we're all brains, and all of our brains look the same on the inside. Like, I don't understand. This world is kind of it's kind of a mess right now. Well, it's always been a mess. Come on, let's just be real.
You know, people always talk about like, oh, we want to, like, perfect example, make America great again. It's like, that is referencing to like what things were like when he was fucking and growing up in like the 50s and 60s. It's like, think about the social climate in the 50s and 60s.
That shit wasn't great.
That shit was worse than now.
No.
Like, what the fuck?
What about the natives? What about when this wasn't even called America?
Yeah. Like,
this country was already great at some
dudes
point.
just showed up and started slaughtering people. Like,
let me hand you some smallpox and take your land.
Right.
Have some alcohol.
It's
It'll be great.
Fuck.
I got the same one.
Andy.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my bad. Nice. See?
So, I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot of just noise, a lot of like noise and
it's not getting anything done.
No.
I think
they're not trying to solve the problem. They're just trying to be heard.
Yeah.
I feel like people aren't they get so like emotionally attached to these like ideologies and stuff, and they like project because they're like unfulfilled or not secure with themselves, so they're just like grasping at shit.
The thing is, a lot of these ideologies are created by other human beings. Like none of I just feel like the reason why I don't really have any set religion or ideologies or anything is because this is all created by humans. Like
it's not an original thought.
No, like even money is not even real. Like we're working our ass off. We're dying hungry and just living rough for something that someone just came up with. Like a current, money. It's a number. Like what? Like I would like to get to a point where I don't know. There's this guy named Jacques Fresco. He has this whole documentary about it's called The Future by Design, and it's really cool ideas of how we could use technology to take over a lot of things that we do, so we can focus more on free education and
being human.
and just. I don't know. It's hard to. It's
well, I'm gonna botch this, but Einstein, he said something along the lines of you can't solve the problem when the problem came from the same place that you're trying to solve the problem. So you need something smarter than that, which is the idea of AI.
I'm trying to get to the point where I feel like humans should be welcome to the rest of the galaxy out there, but we're not, because we're on Earth fighting and just poisoning ourselves and poisoning each other and killing each other and just being like monkeys,
monkey mind.
But if there is an intelligent life out there, they are not ready.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, the thing is too, unidentified flying objects, aliens have been here, observed.
The Sumerians, they talked about it.
It's just what value would we provide to them?
Right.
It's it's like if you find a rock that is just an undesirable rock, you're just gonna leave it there and go find something else. So they probably see us and just
probably be food.
Nothing's really changed in the last couple hundred years. Come back in another couple, see if they didn't kill each other already or not.
I don't believe anything, but I listen to everything. I don't know what I believe really. Sometimes I look up and I'm like, what if this is like the Truman Show out here? For real.
True.
What if the whole world is one big Truman Show?
I mean, I lucid dream a lot and I like to talk about it, but the shit is, that shit is so real to me that it blurs the line between my reality right now and that reality, and that shit makes me question kind of what you're saying. I don't know what's fucking real half the time. I just kind of do.
Exactly.
I'm awake right now, and then I'm awake when I'm sleeping.
Then you got this whole multi-world theory.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theories, but I mean, even the whole particle wave thing, where when the waves, they go through the thing, and when you observe it, they turn into particles or whatnot, that whole thing. I don't know, man. It's so confusing.
Vibrations?
Yeah. What is it? It's the study of waves.
Everything's made out of energy type thing.
I forget what the name. I'm totally butchering it, but there's an actual study they did where they shot some particles through these slits and
electrons.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And then when they went through, they acted like, how's it go? They were waves, but when you observe them, they act like particles. You know what I mean?
So weird.
So like change forms.
Yeah, no matter how you look at it. Like if you looked at it with your eyes, it would totally act different. The particles would act different. If you observe it through video camera, they would still act. They would never show you like
the same.
Yeah. It's weird. Speaking of dreams, though, I had 3 dreams in 3 nights one time, and the first night was alien, like these extraterrestrials took me, and they basically kind of like talked about the history of the world. And I was on the ship, and on the ship there was like this clear, like it just like you just see the ground, and we're flying over the earth. But then we started flying through time, and it started going like back through time, and they were explaining like just the history of man and where we came from. The second night, they talked about, they were like, and it was the same aliens. It happened 3 nights in a row. That shit was really weird. It was super clear. It was super.
How long ago was this?
This was, I was living in California at the time. That was probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So the second night, they said like, the Book of Revelations, you guys kind of have it right. You know, it's not going to be angels and stuff that come back to blah blah blah. It's gonna be us. We're basically gonna wipe everything out because you guys are
can't figure it out.
You guys are a mess. So they talked about that, and then they kind of showed me what happened to the Tower of Babel. I think this is a story where, you know, when they're running from the explosion, they said don't look back or you turn into a pillar of salt. They said that was basically a atom bomb. You know, kind of. You know, just you turn into dust. But and then the third night, they told me that if you wanted to survive radiation, then you get behind a mountain, and the mountain will block from the blast. And then I remember hearing a story that's what they told Moses too. Like that's why when they were running towards the mountain, they said, "Don't look back, or you'll turn into a pillar of salt." They were basically saying, "Get behind that mountain because the radiation blast is going to destroy everything, and you want to just shoot the rock and whatever will protect you from that." And I remember waking up and I was like, "What the fuck? 3 nights in a row?" And then
that's crazy.
Yeah, I looked up some professors online, and I was like, trying to like professors that dealt with dreams and shit like that.
What
and
the fuck was that?
Yeah, because I mean, even if it was all in my head, what is it? I still want to know what it means. Like, why would I have those clear, vivid dreams 3 nights in a row, visited by the same beings, and it didn't feel like a dream? It felt like I was there. It was fucking crazy.
And nothing ever like that happened before.
I have had a lot of. I dream. I still remember dreams from when I was a kid. My dreams since I was a little kid have always been super vivid, lucid. Sometimes I can control things, sometimes I can't. Sometimes they feel prophetic. And I like there was a moment here when I was living here. I remember I was sitting down and the way the sun hit the wall and everything, and I went, "Oh shit, I dreamt about this years ago." So I feel like I've dreamt bits and pieces of my life in the past that come to fruition in the future a lot. Even when I was on Inkmaster, to circle back around to that, there was a moment when I was in there, right? And the way they had the loft set up, they had like pictures of weird shit in places. Nothing like you think, okay, we're going to be on a tattoo show. You think they're going to decorate it with tattoo stuff and hot rods. No, like there's like one section with snakes and weird geography, like geometry art. And then there was one corner that had this weird star constellation and some old shit from the 50s or 60s. It kind of gave me the feeling of Roswell.
Okay.
And then like the books on the wall had certain words that stood out. Like I remember specifically the word conflict was very bold, and I felt like they were pumping weird subliminal shit in our heads.
They just
while we were
wanted
there.
they're stoking a fire.
Like the snakes and the certain art, like also like
that's reality.
You know, and then I started thinking about the whole thing as like because where we're shooting, it's like the Gear Factory basically. The bottom floor was where we shot. And where the shop and shit is. There's like a floor with the lofts where we live. Then there's the people above us that are like watching us on the cameras. Then there's like the head honcho who's at the top, who's in everyone's ear saying this and, this is a go, that's a go. Yeah, and she's the one who's like, the judges aren't judges. They're just
taking orders from someone
exactly.
else.
And then I started to notice that the whole thing was kind of ran like a government too. You had your foot soldiers, you had these people, you had these people who did this, and I was like, man. And then when I was in there was one night where I fell asleep and I started having this weird dream that they were putting a chip behind my eye. And then I remember coming to, and I wasn't even in my bed. I was standing up in the hallway. And then I looked around, and that's when I really took it all in, like the snakes, the images, the star constantly. I was like, and then I started thinking, like, what if these shows aren't really, like, on the surface and to who's watching, it is what it is. Oh, it's cool entertainment. It's like artists, blah, blah. But what if it's a real study on human behavior when you're in these situations? What if they're like watching us sleeping or what, because they had hidden mics and cameras everywhere. They can hear everything because they wanted to hear if you were plotting with another person or if you're getting along with someone. Because then they can go, okay, he's getting along with so-and-so. Let's break them up. Or,
because they're writing the narrative.
But it's such a crazy social experiment at the end of the day because you put all these people in this room, they can't leave. Everyone's following you around. When you go out to smoke, someone has to be there. And sometimes when you're like stressed out and you just like,
I need to be away,
and you want to be alone, and then there's someone like following you, it's like, just get away from me, just let me be. And usually you're not like this, but they put you in these situations to bring out this kind of tension. Right. Then I was like thinking about it. I was like, this is the craziest thing. What if we're not even being watched by humans? What if this is like aliens that are like, they create these shows so they can just kind of get you in.
Do you ever get to meet
they're studying. Yeah, you come across them and they're nice. Everyone's cool. Everyone's doing their job. I have nothing against the whole thing, but within itself, it's like a weird little ecosystem. It's like a weird little government, and we're nobodies, they tell us where to go, what to do,
even though you're like the talent.
Yeah. And if you didn't want to, and like, excuse me, I mean, if you didn't want to play ball, they'll find someone else.
Yeah, that's true. So like when you're like, I'm just gonna like lash out and get, it's like, never mind.
All right, so I came to and I was in the hallway, and then I started getting a fucking like the worst headache behind the eye they put the chip in. All right, so now I'm starting to freak out a little bit because I'm like, what if on the sci-fi level? What if like in my crazy imagination, what if that's what this really was? They get you there, you're fucking passed out, and then these aliens like fucking, and then you're like, I'm here to win money. And they're like, we're studying you, And the weird thing is like the first time, and then when I got kicked off and I went home, I was laying on my couch and
like voted off, or like literally you got the boot.
Oh yeah. When I got voted, no, you don't get voted off. Well, when I lost this was the first time I was on there. When I went home, I was laying on my couch and I swear to fucking whatever is out there, I passed out, but I didn't think I was sleepy. I was just laying there. And all of a sudden I was dreaming and I was in a chair, and I swear to fucking God, it was a doctor and a nurse, and they were checking the chip behind my eye.
Oh my God, dude.
And then and it was like, I went into sleep paralysis first. I couldn't move. And then all of a sudden I was dreaming. Boom. And then it was like I was just sitting there and they were checking. Stuck. And then when I came to, I had the headache again behind my eye. So, okay, yeah. I'm an artist. I have an imagination. Of course, I'm going to think all this cool, crazy shit. But it could just be I have migraines, and they're triggering something in my brain that's creating this cool, elaborate story. But or there's a chip behind my eye, and they're listening to everything.
Literally prototyping Neuralink.
I do have this like thing in my leg too. I have this like, see this little gray spot right there? There's something in there, and I'm always wanting to find out what that is and pull it out.
Did you ever get stabbed with something?
All right, yeah, it could be a pencil lead that I stabbed myself with when I was a kid. Or it could be another microchip.
What I'm learning about this is never settle with the obvious.
No, you gotta go with the sci-fi. Goodness.
No,
it's more fun. It's more interesting. You know.
I'm surprised they had no like alien or like extraterrestrial. Well, maybe it is. I just didn't perceive it that way. But I've definitely had like demonic things happen to me.
Ooh, that brings.
Yeah. I had one in particular where I came face to face with like unmistaken. Like that was definitely some dark shit I was looking at. Like, and it was real. Like not to like waste time like telling the whole story, but basically I was at this girl's. A girl I was seeing at the time, her family has like a ski house in Vermont, somewhere, southern Vermont, and basically the room that we were sleeping in, there was like 2 bunk beds, so we couldn't sleep in the same bed, so because they were like twins. I was like, I'm not trying to fucking share a twin with you right now. It was this fucking college, so she slept on one side, I slept on the other, and like didn't think anything was weird, whatever, went to sleep. Had this crazy fucking dream where like a lot of people in my life were there. I don't know if you maybe you have the same like experiences. Like when you're lucid dreaming about, say you're like doing something in a building, you know where you are, but it doesn't look like how it would look in real life. Right. It's like distorted in a way.
Yep.
But like subconsciously, you know like where you are. It's weird. So all these people were there at this place that was like a place I used to hang out like growing up. Andrew's house. It was like his garage. It was just like a place we hang out all the time. But like all these different people in my life were there, but they all had like something off with them. It was the first time this ever happened. It's kind of like Insidious, you know, when he goes in that dream state and he sees shit and it's like all like dark and like smoky and shit. It was kind of like that, where it was just like everything just seemed weird. Like people like I saw like maybe a week prior, it's like they had like their teeth were all fucked up or like just you know dark shit, and I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And I could just feel the vibe, and then basically there was like this like bus or like thing in the back of the garage, and basically I was curious because I like to explore my dreams, so I see the bus and I was noticing all this weird shit. And then, like, the door opened, and this kind of, like, it looked like a ball or something kind of just rolled out of the bus. And I went to go, like, take a step forward, and one of the people in the room was like, don't go over there. I should have just, like, been like, okay, I'm not going to go over there. But I get myself in trouble in my dreams a lot. I like to take more steps than I should. And I get called out by myself. Like, the characters I build in my dreams, they tell me I fucked up. So he's like, don't do that. I go over and I like go to like flip the thing over, and the second I did that, I like that it like turned into like a face like in my like literally like and I wasn't in that room anymore, like sleep paralysis immediately. And it was just like the craziest fucking thing. It was like I like battled to get out of like the sleep paralysis. I woke up, I was like, once she woke up, I was like, what the fuck happened? Like, I had this crazy dream. And she was like, I was afraid of that. And I was like, what do you mean you were afraid of that? She's like, oh yeah, this place is haunted. Like, all this shit. Like, I've had like crazy shit happen to me here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, well, I totally just saw whatever the fuck is haunting this place, because I never get haunted like by shit.
I can talk about dreams all day. Like,
dreams are crazy.
I think people aren't freaking out enough about how crazy dreams are. Like, I get it, your brain is active while you're sleeping, but some of the shit
there's got to be some.
I've had dreams where I went to a different Earth once. I went to a different timeline, and I can tell. I saw ads for things that I've never seen before, and I was in a multi-world situation where I was like, what the fuck is this? I saw commercials and billboards, and I was like, I've never seen those products in my life. Yeah. Like it was like a different version of Earth. And I remember trying to find a scientist because I knew I would be able to explain to him that I'm not from this earth. And that's crazy for your brain to do this shit while you're sleeping. Or to see things that come true in this plane of existence. We should be freaking out. You know what I mean? Like,
they do talk about that, though. It's like a gateway into like the collective unconscious or like different realms, and it's like you either can activate it through dreams or like psychedelics, and it's like
I microdose before.
Someone mentioned this the other day. I was talking about lucid dreaming, and I thought like I didn't think about it this way, but basically like when you lucid dream, your brain is releasing like little bits of DMT, and I was saying like, oh no, it wasn't that specifically. It was the fact that I've been killed in my dreams three-ish times in the last like month and a half, where I was like shot to death, and I experienced the entire like thing. Like, granted, I didn't feel the pain, but I felt like the energy of like getting shot and then like accepting death and dying.
That's exactly what happened to me.
And and she was like, the person I was talking to, she was like, maybe your brain just releases more, like an abnormally larger amount of DMT than like a normal person.
Dude, yeah.
I just smoked a bunch of DMT. Nah, I'm just kidding. I didn't.
I have in that dream. I don't want to circumvent this whole podcast on dreams, but the last this dream I had when I was a teenager, I got shot in the head, and it was in Chicago. It was like in Cabrini Green. It was all dark. It was like the old ghettos, you know, and there was like garbage cans that had fire in them, just like total movie set.
Like a bad movie.
And I'm walking and I see a car, and in the car my cousin was in the car, and he gets out the car, and I get on my knees and he puts a gun to my head. And he goes, are you ready? And I was like, fuck it. And when he shot me, I felt the bullet go through my head, and I remember falling back, and then I stood up as if I came out of my body, and I told myself consciously, you're dead and you died in your dream. You're free now. Look at your body to confirm it. And I remember being like, I can't turn around. I can't look at myself. And I was trying, and all of a sudden I got sucked in, and I woke up, and I was like, oh, I thought I was gone. I still gotta pay bills. No. You know, I was actually like, all right, we died in our dreams. What a way to go.
Yeah, because
get back to work.
It's so weird, because like, these moments, like, you accept your death or whatever, and then, like, you're like, now what? You're trying to, like, explore that, like, afterlife feeling, and it doesn't allow you to because you're not actually dead.
I've almost died off drug overdoses a couple times, and that I did not accept. I did not like the feeling of physically, like, feeling like you're about to die. That was when I was like, no, I still have more to do. No, what's happening?
Was that like actually like? Are those like
scary?
Is that like painful?
Well, the first time I had a period in my life where I did heroin, and that was just kind of like I was gone. I was.
So like when you OD, do you know that you're in that state of consciousness?
Off the heroin, I didn't know I OD'd. I just blacked out. But one time I took some bad Molly, I think, and all of a sudden I just started convulsing, and I just had lost control, and it felt like someone just unplugged me from the wall. And I just felt my life getting smaller and smaller, and it was scary. I was like, I couldn't stop shaking, and I was like, fuck, and my friend had to call an ambulance. It happened again not too long ago. I was kind of binging, and that was the last time I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna kind of keep it to weed, mushrooms, and caffeine. That's all I need. I don't even really want to drink anymore. You know, like, because drinking leads me to saying, "Fuck it, bro. Let's just do it." You know. So I'm like, just give me some weed and some coffee, and I'll get shit done. I'll have a good time. I feel good. I don't wake up with a hangover. You know, a little bit of microdose on some mushrooms and a fucking zingy. I'm great.
Yeah.
But like partying on the hard stuff, I don't know. I'm getting older now. And I spent like most of my childhood, like not childhood, but like my young adulthood, just excess. So much excess. Like,
were you addicted to it?
I don't think I ever was I've never been as addicted as people are portrayed, where they're like, yo, man, it really just hooked me up, or they steal from you when they need it. I was like, I was more like, I just want to have a good time. I just want to do some drugs and party, have a good time. Yeah. And then like, okay, I got to go to work. Okay, I never was like, fuck, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. Yeah. I was always like, oh shit, we're partying this week? Okay, cool. Oh, it's only Wednesday. You want to do some blow? Fuck it, let's go and have a good time. It wasn't like, I was never like, shit, I need just like,
right. You're not like fiending in the corner. Like,
I mean, maybe after doing coke all night, of course you're like, yo, let's get some money, let's get into the bag. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I never was like, wake up and like, oh man, I gotta get some fucking blow tonight. I need some drugs. I was like, no, whatever. It usually found me, and I was like, okay. But I would do a lot of it. I remember one time I was eating acid, did fucking heroin, eating Molly, just all this shit, and my body was so strong. And then you start hitting 35, 40, and you try to party like that. It's kind of like,
you feel that stupid. For sure.
Hey, stupid, what you doing?
Yeah, really.
I feel like they portray it different. Like you try heroin once and you're like hooked.
Right. I was hooked for a year, but also my parents were. When I grew up, that was my childhood. Okay. My parents were into rock and roll, and they did heroin and coke. It was the 80s, 70s. They were doing it since the 70s. I came around in 75. I was born. So most of my conscious childhood is from the 80s. I was the child of like He-Man and G.I. Joe and all that shit. Yeah. But during those times, man, I can hear the sound of them thumping needles in the bathroom and them leaving me with the babysitter so they can go play their shows. But that was then, the 80s,
Random aside, were you from Hawaii?
I did grow up in Hawaii. My dad is from Hawaii. My dad is my brother's biological dad. He's not my biological father. I never met my biological father. But he was a painter, so I see my mom was a singer. So I get all that shit.
That creates.
And my dad.
Do you sing too?
I do sing. Yeah, I'm a songwriter. I have like 3 or 4 albums on Spotify, and I got a music video up on YouTube.
He's just singing, walking creativity. Yeah. Wait, so where's your mom from?
She was born in New Mexico. She's gone now. She's been gone for a while. She was kind of like she was like pretty much like the family that she was when she basically when she was gone. I didn't really have much, and there's a huge void in my life on my inspiration and drive, because I wanted to always make her proud. I wanted to like use my art and music to take care of her one day.
Right.
And when she passed away, honestly, sometimes I just sit around. I'm like, what's the fucking point? Mm-hmm. Like, I've been alone for like 6 years. I don't have a girlfriend. I kind of stopped dating and all that shit. And and without her around, it's like, I don't know.
How old was she when she passed? Was she younger than anticipated?
Was she?
But I mean, you were born.
She was like in her late 50s, early 60s, I think.
Okay.
I mean,
that's pretty young.
It's weird. There's like weird details about my family I don't know. Like, if you ask me her birthday, I'd be like, I don't remember. But I do remember our conversations. I remember us talking. We actually didn't even get along all the time. Mm. She always be like, she was crazy. She was a witch, sort of. And during my like childhood growing up, I got into black magic. And she found out, and she would like counter it.
Is black magic against witchcraft? Is it the same thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was young, and I thought I was doing black magic. I thought I was like, being rebellious. It was like my teens, doing like dark magic. But honestly, I was just exploring just the possibilities of like just using your mind and, with like potions and crystals and creating spells and shit. But she said she really was like a witch. Like, she's conjured some shit up before, and she was like, don't do this. She was like, nah. And I remember, like, anytime I was I used to run away a lot. And anytime I was missing, she would, like, focus on me and then just focus. And then she'd eventually get a call from the police saying, oh, we have your kid, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, well, there you are. I was like, stop getting me arrested, Mom. She was like, well, if you want to keep running away, I need to know you're okay. So I just focus on you and put you in a place where I can find you. And if that means you're fucking up and getting arrested, well, now I can find you because now you're at the police station. And I was like, oh my God. And then I kind of like, I kind of stopped doing all that. Oh man,
like, I don't like
crazy story about that. Me and my friend used to work for this lady who sold crystals, and she, her and these other two ladies, they had these pendulums. They would always swing them, and they would say they were talking to these angels and shit. And so we worked there part time, organizing and da da da. And I used to like steal crystals and potions and shit. And during like when we got there, we had to do this thing where they had these like gold pyramids set up. They're gold rods, and at the tip of the gold rod had a crystal, right? Mm-hmm. So we had to sit in them, and then we would like cross our leg and put our fingers together and close our eyes. And then the psychic or whatever would sit in front of us, and they would put their hand in front of our head, and they would close their eyes, and we'd just sit there and listen to the music and just focus on whatever you want. And then at the end, you tell her what you saw, and she'll tell you what she saw, and then how it correlates and all this shit. And then, so we did that every day, and it was always something interesting. And then one time I did it, and she said that you have a lot of ancestors stuck to you, like that are holding you back, or creating like they either like didn't get to the next level and they're stuck to you because of for some whatever reasons. And she was like, well, what I want you to do is say this prayer 250 times out loud. And so I said whatever she told me to write. So I wrote it out. I had to write it, boom, boom, and then say it out loud in the room. So I did it, and then we were like, okay, let's sit down and do the session again. So we did it, and I swear to you, I felt like I was falling into a hole. Like I was sitting there.
Like in like Get Out, where he like...
Yes, exactly. And I was sitting there,
Jesus.
And I guess, I don't know what happened, but I thought I was just sitting there, but I was eventually like leaning backwards, but in my head, I jumped because I felt like all of a sudden I was like, poof, and I was falling backwards. And she jumped because she said she saw all these dudes around me in brown cloaks and shit with dark faces, and they were like pissed. Holy crap. That I set them. Yeah, they were pissed I set my ancestors free, you know? And they were like trying to drag me down to hell, I guess, or whatever. So that night got really interesting. And previously, before this even happened, I had did a spell at my house because me and my mom's new husband or whatever weren't getting along, because when I got separated from them and then came back to Hawaii to live with them again, they separated. And I was like, who's this new guy? We never got along when I was like, that's a whole...
Did you actually like your dad at the time?
I've always liked my dad. But,
well, I guess that is your dad. Well,
the
one
new
guy grew up.
Yeah, the guy I grew up with, my brother's dad, was just my dad. Yeah, he was cool. I mean, you know, who doesn't have their issues with their
right.
But, yeah. But then when I came back, and which is a whole other story, but I came back home, she was with someone else. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And that's why I started running away and getting into magic and doing all that other shit, skipping school, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I put a spell on him to make us get along, like for him to chill the fuck out.
Right.
Because I tried to hit him with nunchucks in the rain, but I was scared to hit him because I was really young.
Yeah.
I was scared to hit him in the, like...
Actually, like,
yeah. So I was kind of backing away, and I was like, you know, and I went to swing at him, but then I fell down the stairs, and it was raining, and I just started running. I was like, fuck this, and I just ran and got on the bus and just took off. So I did a spell, and you had to do it like in red ink or blood, and then you burn it, and you put the ashes through the house. And I did it, and all of a sudden, he was kind of acting cool. She started being cool around my house. I was like, all right, this magic shit.
I like this shit.
So then when I was working for the psychic and I did that prayer thing and all of that, and she was like, whoa, there's something after you. And I was like, what? I was like, what? So they're like, we're going to drive you home. And I lived at the North Shore of Hawaii, which is like pretty much on the...
Is this the main
island? I lived on Oahu.
Oh, okay.
And where we were was like downtown, not too far from like Ala Moana, that like between Makiki and Ala Moana in this little area, shopping centers and shit. So they were like, we'll just drive you home. And all their pendulums are going off. They're like, oh man, there's something after you tonight, you know, like ever since you did that. So we open the car door and this crazy waft of like cat piss smell comes out. And they were like, we don't have cats. Pendulum. They're like, oh shit, there was a demon in the car. You know, and you know, of course, I mean, I'm believing this shit because I'm young and this is the shit I was into. But I smelled it. I was like, they're like, no, we don't have cats or anything. And they said that there was a demon in the car, and the demon was like this large cat, like thing with wings or whatever. And it was there, but they have these angels also protecting me. So there's like kind of a war going on sort of at this moment. So we get in the car, and it's just super ominous. It's dark. The moon is fucking bright. The ocean's on the side, and we're just driving, and it's just feels super creepy, you know? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking in my head, like, shit, I did the spell, all this black magic I've been into, what if I'm fucking up? And
you're like,
you know, yeah, seriously, because like the whole thing is like when you do spells, you're actually asking the undead to do these things for you that you can't see.
So sometimes you're asking the wrong people to well, energies.
So we're driving, and then this black cat walks across the street.
Nope.
But the cat's coming from the ocean side, which is weird. So, and then we're going at least 45, 50.
Right, yeah.
They didn't see the cat. And I was like, oh shit. And they hit it. And I felt it. Like my feet on the floor of the car. I can feel the... And we drive. And when I turn around, I bullshit you not, the motherfucking cat just walks like it never was hit. Freaky.
Oh my God.
And then when we get home, all hell broke loose and my spell was broken. He started acting all fucking mean and shit started getting crazy, and I think I ran away again that night, you know, like, and she said like something came and like fucked up my spell that I told him I put a spell on my house, like, and that whole night was just like one thing after another. And they were like, and then they told me that my house was built on a vortex and all this other crazy shit. So I don't know. That was a really crazy. And you know the thing, like many years later, I lived in Chicago. And my friend was driving down the street and he accidentally hit a cat, but only going like 5 or 6 miles an hour. And the cat, like, oh, poor thing, like
died.
I think so. But then I thought back to the moment we're driving on the highway and I don't hit cats often. Let's not get this all twisted. This is just weird moments that happen in my life. Yep. But then when I thought back to the time where we were driving on the highway and it hit the cat,
and it was
just walking.
They should have been like mauled.
Yeah. That's when I was like, oh shit, maybe that shit was going down that night. You know, maybe there was a lot of shit after me.
Did you stop doing black magic after that?
Yeah. Now I'm getting back into like, I'm reading a lot of stuff about Wicca and like just, you know, I don't know, you know, just I'm exploring. I like to explore different ideas and anything that's going to help me create the power to kind of be like my own X-Men. You know, if I can use my mind to bring what I want, hey, that's almost like a superpower. I'll take it. I'll fucking take it. You know, if and the weird thing is like a lot of my life, I do. I'll sit there and I'll think of something. And as soon as I think of it, sometimes that shit comes. It happens, you know? I can be like, hey, I really want this in my life, you know?
Hey,
next thing you know, I get it. And then sometimes I'm like, shit, maybe I should be a little more careful when I wish for it, you know? Because it is a power. I mean...
Did you ask for Inkmaster? Like, I'm curious how you got all tangled up into that. I did an interview for the first one. And once I was on their records, they would send me emails
every time auditions were up.
Oh, okay.
So the first couple times I actually went in. When I lived in New York, I actually went in and did like the in-person interviews. And then after that, I started getting emails. And then I basically would fill it out every time. I was like, it ain't going to hurt anything.
Right.
You know, I sit around and fucking look at big booty bitches. You know, like I can type out a form, you know.
Right. Big booty.
I spend a little time
It's
filling out
true.
a form, you know, so I would do it. And, you know, eventually, like season 7, it came around and I was like, oh, cool. And it happened. And actually, when I got on season 9 was another manifestation. Because I wanted it. And I was at a tattoo convention and I saw 2 people that worked for Inkmaster and they were walking around handing out applications if anybody wanted, you know. They were basically scouting, you know. And I was like, hey. And they're like, oh, shit, you're from season 7. I was like, yeah. I was like, you know what? I'd love to be on the show again. And they're like, really? And I guess word got back and they were like, next thing you know, I got a call again. I was like,
what time did you like better, the first one or the second one?
I like the second time. But I hated the way we got kicked off the second time because I didn't cause it. It was I think my partner kind of fucked up because that was teams.
Oh, okay.
And the first time was all me. I can blame myself. But the first time I was not really, I didn't know what I was getting into. I was taking it way too serious.
Yeah.
And I was like fucking, I was like, yeah, you know, and I was like, prescribed Adderall at the time. So I was like super
wired.
Wired and like just intense. And that shit makes me like, almost like if I fuck up, I'm like, God damn it. You know, like, and then the second time I was like, no, I'm just going to go in there and just chill this time, you know? And I was a little more relaxed. I knew what was going to happen. I was like, nah, you guys can't get to me this time. Oh, let's do this, you know? But then I was like, my partner got me kicked off. No! I didn't have any, I did have somewhat control because I could have. So the challenge was I had to draw on the person, and then my partner had to tattoo it. So it was a freehand challenge.
Oh wait, I think I saw this video because I remember you saying something like, why'd you do it that way or some shit like that.
And the thing is like me and him were kind of getting into it, which I know they probably love. But of course, I'm thinking about the longevity of the tattoo. I'm thinking about the actual quality of the tattoo. So I told my partner, this time I'm not going to be over your shoulder. I'm going to give you some room and freedom just so you're comfortable, so you can think, so you can flow. And it just didn't.
It didn't
flow.
No. And I'm kicking myself because I should have been like, no, hell no. You know, because then it would have gave him more. It gave him better TV. B, I could have stopped it before it got too far. But again, I am.
So what exactly went wrong with the tattoo?
He just went about it kind of backwards. He like put way too much background that didn't need to be there. He's a good tattooer, but under the circumstances, I think.
You were better.
No, and I knocked out the freehand drawings fast, so he had plenty of time for the tattoo portion. You know, and
you had to do both in like a certain amount of time.
Yep.
Okay.
And I was feeling it. I got it in, got it done, and I said, I'm just gonna let you do your thing because I know if someone gives me freedom and space, I'm not gonna let them down because I am obsessive. I'm hard on myself.
We're gonna get this.
I'm gonna get it. You know, and that's
damn.
And again, kicking myself in the ass because I should have just been over his shoulder. I should have been giving him more TV. But of course, I'm thinking like how I want this tattoo to be good. So I want my partner to be good. So if I don't stress him out, maybe he'll do good. And then maybe we'll win off of the merit of our skills and not because we're all dramatic and because we're going to just fuck up and eat up time and just do a good tattoo, please. Let's get through this challenge, you know? And then we can give him some theatrics later. But I take this shit serious. Just do the tattoo, please, you know? And it didn't work out. And then when
how far into the show were you at that point?
So I got really drunk that night, like right before I had our judgment, because I knew it was.
We're out.
So I just got drunk as shit, and I just kind of acted a fool. And then when I had to do my interviews right after, I fucking cried because I was like, I don't want to go home. I was like, I'm homeless right now.
Yeah.
I'm living in my fucking car. I thought I was gonna nail it this time. I had it all, you know, like I had it all like worked out. I was gonna come in here and give you guys everything you wanted. You know, I was gonna fucking rock this shit. And I think someone's knocking on the door. Hold on.
Every time.
God damn
Let me
it.
check the video. Okay, we're still on.
Oh, yeah, let me grab it. We're doing a podcast, yeah.
Podcast.
I swear, we attract.
Podcast. Podcast. Podcast.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Oh, yeah. It's very fun.
Was there anything that you?
Nice just to talk.
Yeah, hell yeah, definitely.
I've been.
Damn. Wait, so how far into the show were you at that point?
We weren't even that fucking far yet. And that's the shit kicker too.
What's the prize for that? Like, if you win,
Just $1 billion.
I don't know. Yeah, it's some kind of large amount of money that I don't have.
Be like, I don't have one beer. I'd own the Gear Factory.
Would you ever go back?
Yeah, I'll do it again. Hell yeah.
What season are they on now? Like,
I don't even know. I don't even think they're doing it anymore.
yeah, probably not.
I think they're trying a spin-off show, or they got the new judges or something. Honestly,
Where do they get the money from?
I mean,
Is it all sponsors?
It's yeah, I don't know, to be honest. But it was on a major.
I mean, people watch that shit.
It's on the syndicated.
If it gets good ratings, like a lot of people are watching, and like
that's what they care about.
it's all about the ad revenue. So like,
Yep.
yeah, you know,
Ads.
what channel was that on?
It was on Spike,
Okay,
and then Spike got bought out by
Yeah.
someone else. I forget.
dude, Spike was fire. I used to watch like
Spike was like Axe body spray and Monster Energy.
Yeah.
Mashed. You know, like,
and then I just watched like 1,000 Ways to Die.
That's insane.
That's a blast in the past, honestly. And I'm like younger and still like.
I think I would watch MX Unleashed. Or, no, it's not MX. The one with like they would dub over the Asian commentators.
Oh yeah.
Shit like
Yeah,
that.
she was hilarious. That wasn't that Ninja Warrior, sort of like the
Kind of, yeah. It was like
Japanese
the
version?
precursor of Ninja.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where like the challenge courses are like infinitely more difficult than how they are now.
And everything's slimy.
Yeah.
Everything's wet and slippery.
All right. So like based on like all the shit you have going for you right now, all the different art, and if you could like have something manifest for you in like the near future, like what are you trying to like work towards right now? Especially like at 40, what you said, 44, 45, like
44.
You know, I mean, let's just pretend you live to 100. Say you're
I'm gonna live.
So you're like less than halfway. You're a little less than halfway. Like what's your plan for the next half?
It's a long time.
I don't know, man.
They got me in the first half. I'm not gonna lie.
I've been freestyling this life for way too long. I don't know. I'm just trying to like. I feel like I'm constantly trying to stay above water, though. You know, like I didn't grow up with the skill, taught how to like manage money and like how to like all this other stuff. I've always just been a creator and emotional and like sensitive, and that stuff doesn't always get you paid, you know.
Right.
But it does make for good content. Like it does create good stuff sometimes, and I'm just hoping that I can create something that will be big enough to sustain my life, maybe, you know. I don't know, like, what if somebody saw my shit and they were like, yo, we want to use your art for a video game? That video game became a huge staple in the gaming community, or, you know, or then it turns into a movie and I can be like, those are my characters, like fucking Rob Liefeld with Spawn, you know? I'm not Spawn, but Deadpool, or Todd McFarlane with Spawn, or, you know, like, I want to create something that becomes like iconic, you know? Or it'd be nice if people liked my paintings and wanted to buy my paintings for buku bucks, you know?
Right.
Like, fuck.
So you're saying
if anyone who's watching this hasn't seen, you should
look. Like buku bucks.
Buku
bucks. Because the more money that I have, which money isn't real, but it's real for us. But if I had that, I can like do more fun stuff, creative stuff. I can expand my tools. I can like have my own in-house studio. I can do like maybe voices and like make my music, or like make my own animated movie. I can sit down and be like, I'm finally gonna do my own movie, or I don't know. Because right now I'm just like getting by, and it's like a constant struggle. Like I'm constantly pushing a boulder uphill, and I would like to get to a point where I've got robots doing it. I'm just like robots are working on the boulder. Meanwhile, I'm making great stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would like to get out of not being a struggling artist, but being a just successful artist. Like I'd like to be a part of the pantheon of artists that are like really doing something. And
do you want to do it your way, or like what do you consider the idea of maybe working for like Pixar or company?
I would totally do something like that. I just never I never went to school, and I just a lot of the things I know I had to learn. I learned how to do it on my own. Not to say that there's people who don't do that, but most of those people like went to school and they got this education and they're just like well versed, and
they don't have the passion. They don't have the passion.
Yeah,
generalizing. You can't teach that shit.
But if they saw me, they'd be like, "Who's this nobody? This street urchin trying to be up here with us?" I'd be like, "I'm sorry, I just wanted to."
Is that how the industry is? Like they'll probably throw it in the wayside though.
I mean, like I think Hollywood's definitely has a pretentious.
There's always an elitist. There's always an elitist group in everything. There's always someone that's, and no matter what it is, whether there's someone who thinks that you don't belong, and I don't know. Maybe that's just my own personal confidence too. I have issues with that. Which maybe we can save for another podcast. We can go over the issue.
I'm curious, just because I feel like we don't ever talk about the Gear Factory that often in our podcast, but I feel like since you live here as well, it's kind of relevant. Yeah. Just kind of like your perspective on like coming here and what do you feel like you've gotten out of living here so far and all that kind of stuff?
I love it here. I feel like this is like the kind of place I wish I could have found in Brooklyn when I lived out in New York or any other major city.
They don't have anything like this in New York?
I'm sure they do, but it's probably
expensive.
It costs
buku bucks, man.
Buku bucks, bro. Buku bucks. But this is, Syracuse is okay. It's a little slow for me, but and I feel a little isolated out here. Like I don't really go out much. I don't really do much. I'm always in the building. Even before I lived here, I was always at home out here.
How'd you end up in Syracuse?
After the last season of Inkmaster, like I said, I was homeless. I went back and my stuff was all still in my car, which I left in Virginia. So I had to go down to Virginia, get my car, drive back to New York, and then I realized I had nowhere to live. And that's why I really wanted to win this time. And so I was like, fuck. So I talked to Tom Bowman, who was on this season with me. He was from out here.
Okay.
And he was like, I love your art. I was like, I love your art. And then when I was like sitting in my car and I was like, it's about to be winter. And I just finished Inkmaster. And I had already planned a 3-month trip to Europe. So I got done with the show, dropped my car off in Virginia, went to Europe for 3 months, came back, and I just had nothing. And I left a lot of shit in California. Whatever was in my car was what I owned. And I didn't want to live in my car again in the winter homeless, because that shit is no fun. No fun.
Can imagine.
I've done it before, and it's no fun. So I called Tom. I was like, so you said if I came up there, you'd throw me a job and everything? He's like, yeah, my apprentice has a house. You can rent you a room. I was like, I'll take it. I'm not going to do this. I'll go wherever I need shelter. And then I ended up here. And I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to stay here. Then I found the Gear Factory. And I'm like, yeah,
maybe I will.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I'd like this. It's like kind of a dream come true in an odd place that you wouldn't expect.
100%.
And it definitely has forced me to face my art and my creative stuff,
And be around other creatives.
Yep. it's kind of nice to have a little community here because I'm not much of a go out person anymore. I don't. Well, of course now with the quarantine and all, but I started becoming more of a recluse, sort of, kind of inverting in. But it's nice when I step out my door. There's someone over here, there's someone over there, there's someone walking through, there's someone be happy, and then I'm like, well, maybe I should change my mood. You know, and it's like, oh, cool, and I'm excited about that. You know, it's definitely a cool little ecosystem in here. I remember one night I was tripping on mushrooms. I was looking at the Gear Factory, and I noticed, I was like, we're like the blood cells in this building, and like the halls are like the veins, and all the wires are like the arteries and shit. And I was like, this whole place is kind of alive. I was like, whoa. I was like, I can see the walls breathing.
And what's crazy too is from an outside perspective, people who've never stepped foot in here, they have no idea. It's just like, oh, I don't know, some big building.
I think we have it really good here.
Yeah, but it's cheap too.
Super cheap.
Super cheap.
Come on!
You can literally build shit like this.
Oh,
you know?
This is so nice. It's real. I'm really thankful to live here. So now I just have to like. It's kind of forcing me to like face, like, oh, you're an artist, then do art. Or you're a creative person, then do it. You want to live amongst the creatives, or you're paying to be in a place full of artists, then be an artist.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there and say you're an artist. I am kind of going through a slump where I'm just not feeling my art, and I'm just kind of denying it right now. I'm just like, I'll work on it tomorrow. I'll work on it tomorrow. But at the end of the day, I have to work on it because I live. I always tell people, like, hey, these are live work studios, not just live studios. These are live work. This is your studio. Like, you're supposed to work in it. You're supposed to be creative in it. Like, like, do something.
What do you think would give you that inspiration, or has given you inspiration in the past?
I think lately I've been really focusing on like how lonely I am. Like, ow.
I'm lonely.
No, just a little bit. Like I keep thinking about like, am I? Do I need a relationship in my life? Because I used to. There was
Kids, house, going.
No, not all that.
Settle down.
I go through these like cycles where I need to be alone. Then I need to be with someone. And then it's like, oh, this ain't working out. I need to be alone. And each time that happens is a different form of inspiration.
Oh,
From
true.
love, I get like this inspiration to write more songs, and then I have someone to like. That's like my accountability partner. Right. They're like, hey,
because
asshole,
they're like
you're doing stop playing video games all day and maybe get to work. And it's like, oh, hey, thanks, babe.
Yeah.
But then like when I need to be alone, it's more like I'm feeling crowded. Now I need to like find my creativity in my own space. Mm-hmm. But then after so long, it's like, okay, I think I need someone else around. Like, this is, my cats don't speak English, and I keep trying to teach it to them. Like, fucking talk to me.
I think Bobby's pretty close.
Yeah, Bobby's super close. But I don't know. I think right now I'm just feeling really lonely. And I don't want to because I know what's going to happen. I'm trying to break the cycle of insanity. Like, every time I get in a relationship, the shit only lasts for like maybe 2-3 years at the most. And then it's like something goes crazy, or I just end up with somebody that doesn't work out. And then I start like retreating within myself within the relationship, and that's not healthy. And then I start doing the opposite. Like, if they start telling me what to do, I'm like, no, I'm going to actually do the opposite, or I'll draw all night just to isolate myself. And then it's like, well, then don't be in a relationship. Then that's when I'm like, okay, I need to be alone. But then I get into a relationship, and then I go through that cycle all over again. So it's been 6 years since I've been in a relationship.
Damn.
And I said no more. I was like, I either when it happens next, it better fucking feel like this is my partner.
Yeah.
Like, I can deal with her bullshit. She can deal with my bullshit. I can live with this. I can get old with this. I can die with this. Because it always comes close, but then again,
yeah, and like
is it, or am I just trying to fill a void by allowing anybody in my life, or am I just attracted to anybody that is?
It's so hard too, because like getting involved with someone in that capacity is like, if you think about like the context of what it means to be involved with someone, that's like the most insane thing a person
really
can possibly do.
And it's insane to constantly repeat these cycles and then act like you're going to get different results. So I had to just stop because I don't know what I want. I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know.
Maybe that's your inspiration. Maybe you can like use your art to figure out these questions.
That's interesting.
So it's funny. The thing I actually like had been like using the thing you posted about relationships and love recently to a couple other people because I felt like it really
the single, hopeless, lonely.
Like no, like about like how relationships or love is like a vessel.
Oh, okay.
And like it's basically like a third party entity that two people are going in to like travel through life together with. And so think of it like a car or whatever. Like it's going to need maintenance. It's going to need a lot of things. And if you like neglect it, it's going to stop working. And then, you know,
and
if you can't use it anymore.
I think the important part of that is like if you neglect yourself, then you don't have the ability to provide for that vessel.
Right.
So then you have to look inward, retreat maybe to like get yourself well-being. So then you can keep providing for that.
Like the vessel is its fuel is like the two people
being sane,
providing their like happiness and like what's great about them into this like thing, and it vibes and it goes. And then when it stops, like if one side stops being as like productive in terms of like input as the other, kind of imbalances and then, you know, crashes or whatever. And it's like, okay, so maybe like I gotta be fucking as close to hundo as I can be.
Right.
But also like finding another person that's at that level too.
That's hard. I mean, it's hard.
You can get close.
It's hard feeling 100%. And I think that's where I was like, okay, I need to really focus on myself. But I'm like, now I'm starting to think like, am I ever really going to be 100%, you know, like within myself? Or is there a certain point that you can do to yourself, but you need that extra help for you both to feel that?
Well, there's also that part of like relationships where you're like the idea of like building each other up and being better humans together.
Well, at any point, I think in a relationship, the other person's gonna be down, and you're gonna need that help to like pull them back up. Yeah,
it's at like when you get to those points where you start to feel like you're slipping, and there's no one there to like help catch you a little bit. That's how like,
especially if like you have health concerns. Like you have cancer, you obviously need to have. Well, you don't need, but it'd be nice to have a
like
partner
or something. Yeah, true. There's definitely benefits, downfalls, benefits. There's. I don't know. It's all crapshoot, honestly. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Like,
also, though, like you being an artist and living that lifestyle, does that take a toll on relationships? Does that make it difficult? Like, what's that like?
I think so because, I think in the past, a lot of my relationships, I have dated artistic partners, you know, but I think art was mostly like my life, like that's how I survived. And art is kind of an isolated thing, you know, because when you draw, you have to kind of be in your head. You have to be, you know, right between you and this, or the canvas, like that's you. And maybe, you know, you want to put on your headphones, and now you can't hear shit, you know? And that's like an isolated world. And sometimes, you know, when you date someone who needs a lot of attention, you are forced to kind of make a choice, her or your art, and it's like, no,
you shouldn't have.
I shouldn't have. No, it's stupid. Because I would never do that to anyone. I try to
take them away from what they love.
I try to treat people how I would like to be treated, and you know, which is something that's taught in almost every religion. You know,
the golden rule.
Yeah. So I don't know. When they do things, I'm just like, yeah, do you think? Go ahead. Because guess what? I have so many activities I can do. You know, I'm like, I can put my brain to work on so many different things. I'm never like, oh, like spend some time. You know, like, I know I'll get my time. if you got stuff to do, that's great. Because I mean, even if I don't have anything to do, I can play video games. You know, I love video games. You know, why not?
I feel that.
I always have an activity. I've always been like that.
It's just like being a high functioning person. You just like I don't need like I like the company and it's nice to have that person, but I definitely want to just do my own shit too.
I can always do my own thing. And I don't know. At some point, I kind of felt like maybe I just function better with a couple cats, maybe 3, just me.
You just got a new cat too, right?
Yeah. And it's Miyama.
That's the name, Yama?
Yep.
Miyama.
So I went to call her Mama, and she meowed at that. I went, oh, Miyama. And she responded to it, so I was like, I guess that's your name.
How is she interacting with Bobby?
Oh, they're friends now.
Love it.
Yeah.
I feel like cats kind of go through a little phase.
Yeah.
When they
it's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, oh, you go.
Yeah. And you also got the other cat that Joey and Jonna have now.
Yeah, that was
they live on our floor.
Yeah. The 3 of them wasn't. It's
not
just too
vibing?
small. No, it's just too small.
Oh, yeah.
I my eyes were bigger than my stomach. You know, I was like, oh my god, give me all the cats. I didn't want to separate them, but they're still in the same building.
Yeah,
we can always see each other again.
Dude, Artemis is a cool little cat.
Yeah,
that's Joey.
He was in here. Like Joey brought him in here, and he was like
so cute.
So like my thing is just for context for people listening, there's. I don't know how many cats now. There's a decent amount of cats in the building.
Cat building.
But at one point, a cat that lives on the floor above us was down here, Maxwell, and we have Ray, and they're both older cats. Yeah. And when I was working from home a lot before I got my new job, I would always leave my door open. They'd just come in and do their thing. Max would usually just sleep there. But I noticed that they would never go up onto my loft. And then it wasn't until Ray did it, and the most unorthodox thing, climbed up on this chair onto like the ledge of the window, climbed up the side of the loft to get up there. And, and then Maxwell eventually figured out to go up the stairs. But like, it took them like at least a month or 2 months to figure it out. Artemis was in here once and figured out the stairs immediately. Yeah. I'm like, you're a kitten.
Yeah, he is.
Let's go.
Miyama's a kitten.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm like, hey. She's like, ah. She's like running around. I'm like, oh my god, I love it. I missed having a kitten. I had Bobby since he was a kitten, but now he's just kind of like old. He's not old, but he's just like,
he's just chilled out.
Yeah. He's like, come on, man. Just let me sleep.
It's so funny. He's just like so much like a human. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
because I've treated him like a human since he was a little baby.
So you're talking to him, trying to make him speak English.
Yeah.
Dude, Bob, it's so funny because like he's not like super vocal, but when he wants to be heard, he's just you're like, you're like, oh,
he is full on. He was full on. We have conversations, arguments sometimes. Too.
Dude, cats are cool.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
So we're coming in an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah. I'm about ready to have a cigarette.
Weird.
Do you have any last words or things that you want to let the people know?
I mean,
I feel like this
you
is
can,
cool.
I have my Instagram is Phantom Studios _New York.
That's new. You changed that.
Yeah, because someone hacked my account.
Oh,
and when
Jesus.
I got it back, I changed the name and changed the password.
What's the, it's like FGC? Picasso Dular?
Yeah.
What's the FGC?
FGC is Fighting Game Community.
Oh, okay. Is that like your tag then?
No, it's just
clan?
It just lets people know I'm a part of that community, and
okay.
I really appreciate the FGC. I've gotten a lot of work through the FGC. Like, people want their favorite character drawn.
Yeah.
I've done like some artwork for someone's fight stick and shit like that, and it's like my I don't know, it's like my secret love. FGC. I love the FGC.
It's definitely cool.
Yeah. And it's like not that big, it's kind of a niche thing,
Yeah.
like being in the fighting games and shit. It's like, it's a huge industry, but then on the grand scale of things, it's kind of a niche thing, you know? You tell someone, hey, I'm into fighting games, FGC, they're like, what?
Yeah.
Whatever, dude. Like, like,
it's like a
nerd.
world. It's definitely a world of its own.
Yes.
It's cool though. Like you meet some really interesting people through it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
This was fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't really have much going on. If anyone wants to check out my music, it's on Spotify. The last band I was in was Gravity. I have a band before that called Advocate. And then my old band Shades of Fiction. They're all those albums, that small libraries on Spotify. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we'll link all that stuff.
I have like
in the description.
What do you call that? SoundCloud with my own stuff, acoustic stuff, and my artwork. I have a website, PicassoDular.com, and
we definitely found like old videos of you on YouTube. Playing acoustic and shit from like 2008 or some shit.
The classics, bro.
Because that was like when you first moved in, and someone was like, "Yeah, like there's a dude who moved in who was on Inkmaster." It's like, really? It's like, who? I mean, it didn't take me long to make the connection. Yeah. It's like, okay, it makes sense. But yeah, that was funny.
Cool.
But yeah, dude, this was fun. I always like having fun, new, interesting combos.
We usually ask the question.
Oh yeah, you want
to? We
gotta ask it.
Kind of like ties in all the other podcasts, and it's kind of deep.
Okay.
So be ready for it.
Let me back
The chair comes alive.
Right?
Strap in. Sleep paralysis.
But the question is, what does it mean to be human? And the reason why we ask this is we have all these different guests on, and they have different backgrounds, different religions, philosophies, idiot, whatever. So it's like, what's the thing that's connecting all of us? And it's like, to be human. So it's like, what does it mean to be human to you?
To me, it's the collective consciousness.
Hey.
I think we're all connected. I think the internet in real life is all of our brains. Like, and we don't, I don't think like to be human means like the religions we believe in, the ideologies, all that stuff that's all just concepts that men and women came up with. But to be human is just the way our minds are connected. And eventually, I think to be an elevated human, to get to like that point where we can build that Dyson thing around a star and like just like really explore, is to like explore the consciousness and not our like shit that we're fighting for on the surface, but the deeper side, the deeper connection that makes us all related, like
open-mindedness of everything.
Yeah, the traveling through space and time through like your third eye and the pineal gland and all that shit. Like, I know it sounds like all spacey daisy and all that shit, but like, what else is there? Like, is it our political views? Is it like what we like? My new shoes or my car? Like, no, like, I think it's, you ever think, like, I always thought, like, what if the whole world at one point just stopped, walked outside and just stood there, stopped talking, stopped moving, and just connected every human? What if it just all of a sudden the earth just like something happens if we just all shut up, stop, and just connect mentally, like just
singularity.
Yeah, yes. What if all of a sudden ships come in, they're like, figured it out. Thank God.
Well, the way you're kind of talking about it kind of seems like it's like a puzzle. Like each individual like energy form, life being is like a piece to a puzzle, but it's like when you open like a 10,000 piece puzzle and there's just fucking puzzle pieces everywhere and it's just a mess and you're like, oh my God, there's so much noise in here. But it's like, if we all just like, the noise stopped, you could find like the right connection, start meeting.
What if all of a sudden it just opens a portal and then they're like, we move to the next level.
And like a spaceship comes out of the center of the earth.
Like evolve to like the next level of human. Because right now we're still kind of
we're still like
we're right now we're still like sticks and fire, like that's how I feel. I mean, we might. I mean, I don't know. It's a.
I mean, like you were saying, we're still primitively fighting over skin color. How can we even like talk about crazy like future tech stuff when we can't even get over like
basic rights? You know, human beings. Who cares what color or sexual preference or whatever you are? We're all human beings. It's like, just treat each other like human beings.
It's like as long as you're not fucking like, as long as you're not like fucking me up on a daily, do whatever the fuck you want to do. I mean, don't be a pedophile, but like also like just you know, it's just like don't.
We'll find you and
Just
kill you.
Just don't fuck on anyone. Just
stop fucking on
thing.
Stop fucking on people.
Yeah, just stop. Do you want to make the buku bucks? You gotta stop fucking on people.
Bro, you need to make buku bucks, bro.
All right. We're gonna end it there. Fucking on people. Thank you. 3, 2, 1.
So there you have it. Thanks again for tuning in to Bindlism, a philosophy to self-sufficient lifestyle. Be sure to explore other episodes of Bindlism on our Spotify and Apple podcast. You can find more Boho Hobo stuff on Instagram and Twitter at boho_hobo_, as well as on our Facebook page at Boho Hobo Lifestyle. It'd also be dope if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Our YouTube channel has more episodes from Bindlism in video form, along with other random shenanigans that we're up to. We're constantly filming new experiences, so it's one way you guys can stay up to date with us in our journey. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. Until next time, peace.